When you think of our great country, a few things may come to mind. Hockey, a beaver, maybe some maple syrup. Our next guest put together a book of these iconic symbols. It's called Symbols of Canada, a collection of essays featuring some of the most recognizable images as well as the stories behind them. Editor and author Professor Michael Dawson joins us this morning. Welcome. Congratulations on the book.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so the 20 symbols featured in this book,
Yep.
a collection of 20 essays. Why did you and your colleagues want to write this book?
Well, we were inspired by a different book called Symbols of Australia, which featured all sorts of interesting backstories on the kangaroo and surf clubs and that sort of thing. And we thought to ourselves, wouldn't it be fun, wouldn't it be fascinating to do the same thing for Canada and try and figure out the histories, interesting histories behind the totem pole and the beaver and the Mountie and that sort of thing.
All right, well, thank you for bringing up the beaver. I mean, I said this yesterday about a completely different subject, but it's a story I didn't even know I wanted to learn. So tell me about the beaver, the mighty beaver.
The mighty beaver, indeed. So the beaver has been recognized as a Canadian symbol unofficially for hundreds of years, obviously, given its connection to the fur trade and that sort of thing. It's been used for commercial purposes, and I'm sure it's been on T-shirts for a long time, but it doesn't become an official Canadian symbol until 1975, and that happens because a Canadian member of Parliament gets very agitated at the prospect that New York State might declare the beaver to be an official symbol of that jurisdiction.
So we didn't want
Canada.
it until somebody else wanted it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
All right. Now, you also write about the Royal Canadian Mounted Police.
Yep.
This is an institution and it's sort of a symbol that has undergone a lot of changes over the years in terms of how we view it. How is it viewed in pop culture?
Today?
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you think back over time, the Mountie has always been a key symbol of English Canadian culture, but that English Canadian culture has transformed a lot from the 19th century to today. So 100 years ago, it would have been seen as a celebration of British imperialism from the 1960s on. That's not how English Canadians are thinking about themselves, and so it gets updated to celebrate multiculturalism and a more collective sense of what Canadians are trying to achieve. Today, I think over the past 10, 15 years, there have been a lot of controversies about RCMP duties and what's been happening, and so I think it's undergone something of a challenge to its popular image.
A lot of these symbols, like the beaver, they have a sort of a national, they're like national cultural touchstones, but others are less all-encompassing. So how did you decide what was going to get in the book? How did you decide what to leave out?
Right. Very difficult. All sorts of symbols we could have included. Some didn't make it in. The Rocky Mountains didn't make it in. The CN Tower didn't make it in. We tried to go for a balance between symbols that people would recognize immediately as still having a lot of cachet today, some that maybe used to be more popular than they are, that aren't as popular now as they used to be, and then tried to find some regional balance. So Anne of Green Gables is in there as a regional symbol that is viewed as national by some people, but maybe regional by others.
What are you hoping people gain from this book?
We want people to gain knowledge about where these symbols come from, but also to get a sense about how other people might view these symbols. A lot of these symbols are contested. There's controversies surrounding them. And I think given where Canada is at right now, with the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and that sort of thing, the more people can learn about how other people view these symbols, the better conversations we can have about where Canada is going in the future.
You know, in a lot of cases, we think we know the history, and a book like this shows us that we only know a little bit of it. So thank you very much for going a little bit deeper into these subjects.
My pleasure. Thank you.